Iron Supporting Food Banks collects food and cash donations for needy families in Newham Borough and beyond. Please consider making a donation via their Just Giving page, the link for which you will find in the description section of this stream. Come on, you Irons!
West Ham are massive, everywhere we go. West Ham are massive, everywhere we go. Everywhere we go. West Ham are massive, everywhere we go. West Ham are massive, everywhere we go. Everywhere we go.
Oh, hang on. Let me press that button and then I'll appear. There you go. Welcome to the West Ham Massive. If you are new around here, please don't forget to hit subscribe. And either way, please click a thumbs up on this video. All these things help the channel out, make it grow into something bigger and better down the track. Take you a couple of seconds, doesn't cost you a copper coin. What's not to like? So we're here to do the review of the game yesterday that took place at London Stadium. Premier League fixture number 19. So that is now us halfway through the Premier League fixture list. And it's been a tough watch this first half of the season, I can't lie. West Ham United 0, Liverpool 5. Now, normally, the regulars will know that I've normally got little graphics and presentations and all that sort of stuff. I'll be honest, guys, I don't mean to be unkind to any of you watching. I seriously couldn't be asked. Because it was just, it just sort of putting that together and sort of like seeing it all in its full glory in front of me would just depress me even further than what I am at the minute. And I am really, really crestfallen. And don't get me wrong, I'm not stupid enough to turn around and say that the scoreline, the eventuality is a shock to me, because it's not. Because the way we've been playing this season, the outcome, the way Liverpool have been playing as well, but the way we've been playing, does a 5-0 reverse at home to Liverpool shock me? No. And I'd love to be able to turn around and use mitigation, use excuses, give reasons like there was no Souček, there was no Fabianski, there was no this, we had Soler and Kilman going into it on the walking wounded list. Be perfectly honest with you guys, we could have had everybody going in fit as a fiddle. We could have had our complete complement of players. It wouldn't have made the blindest bit of difference. And it all started for me, I don't know about you guys, but when the teams were announced, an hour or so before kickoff, I just looked at it and went, what's he doing? I can't work this out. And obviously I then took my seat once the game had kicked off and I saw where the players were lined up, and I could sort of see that he was putting Emerson at left wing. Really bizarre sort of decision. He'd moved Wan-Bissaka across to left back, and I kind of get that, and I said it in the preview that I would be tempted to do that. So I'm not going to sit here and say that that was an odd decision, because I can completely understand. You sort of like, you move your best defensive fullback over to deal with their most potent weapon, which was Mo Salah. So I understand that. That bit I understand, but it just looked all like a bit of a mishmash and whatever. And don't get me wrong, I mean, me and my son, who I went to the game with, we had this little thing going during the match, and we probably started it on about the second minute. And I sort of looked at the clock and I went, "Oh, look, George," I said, it's 2 minutes in and we haven't conceded a goal." And then it was like 3 minutes. "Oh, we still haven't conceded a goal." We sort of like, we did it. It was a little bit of a sort of like an in-running joke. And we actually got quite far into the game, a lot further into the game than I thought we would, before we actually gave up parity. And we had chances as well. I mean, this is the thing. We had 2 proper chances, I think, whilst the game was still in the melting pot. I mean, it was 0-0, and I think it was Andy Robertson that gave the ball away, and Jared Bowen latched onto it. And he was making a move, he was sort of like left down our left-hand channel as he carried the ball forwards. And you had Mohamed Kudus starting into the penalty box, and you also had Lucas Paqueta sort of bombing in. The ball's played in by Bowen. It bypasses Kudus. It drops into the path of Paqueta. he slipped at the vital moment. I mean, it's just those little bits, those little fine details. If he slips, does he get it on target? Maybe, maybe not. We'll never know. But that was an opportunity at 0-0. Liverpool didn't let us off the hook. They absolutely then went down the other end short time later and punished us. What was it, 30 minutes in, something like that? Just having a little wind back. Yeah, 30 minutes in. It was Luis Diaz with the ball. And here's your luck. I mean, look at this. I mean, this is shambolic defending 101. You know, he plays the ball. He's making Curtis Jones is making a run, right? Go back and have a look. Curtis Jones is making the run and he's looking to thread the ball through to find Curtis Jones. Instead, what happens is Mavropanos gets the faintest of touch, knocks it onto Vladimir Coufal. Vladimir Coufal then knocks the ball into the path of Luis Diaz, who's continued his run, and he's gone, thank you very much. Bang, 1-0. And you're sort of sitting there going, oh, no, you know, we've got to half an hour in, 0-0, and you're thinking, maybe we could sort of fashion an opportunity. Maybe we could go and put some pressure on them. Nope, that's completely taken out of the equation. We're now 1-0 down, and we've now got something, maybe not a mountain at that point, but it was obviously a very steep hill that we had to climb from that point on. And it really didn't get any better from there, to be honest with you. And what was it? There was a substitution. Joe Gomez had to go off 37 minutes, but 40th minute, Cody Gakpo gets a goal to make it 2-0. Now, there's obviously a little bit of controversy over the goal because the ball was played over the top and it looked like it was going towards Mohamed Salah, who was clearly offside. However, he had the presence of mind, unlike our back four, who had all switched off and was waiting for the Lionel's flag. Mo Salah's sort of gone, no, I think I'm offside and I'm going to just sort of hang back a bit. And instead, Diaz has bombed through, got onto the ball, and then recycled it to Mo Salah, who's now in an onside position, excuse me. He then nutmegs Mavropanos, who all game just looked like a fish on a bicycle, honestly. As far as sort of like a defender's concerned, he is so out of place, isn't he? He's got at least one mistake in him per match, at least one mistake. And as a centre-back, that is the difference between success and failure. My God. Plays a little nutmeg through the legs of Mavropanos. Gakpo gets on the end of it. He's got a simple, Vladimir Coufal, where the hell was he? He was nowhere, and it was 2-0. And now that very steep hill now is becoming a mountain to overcome. The third goal, which for me effectively ended any chance of us getting anything. And I probably should wind back because I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself because at 1-0, so before the goal from Cody Gakpo, we actually did have a chance, which obviously would have made it 1-1. And to be fair, and I'm going to reference this because I have given Mohamed Kudus a bit of stick in recent weeks because I think he's looked a little bit disinterested. And I'm kind of getting a little bit frustrated with it's constantly sort of, he's on the left, this, that, and the other. Look, I just am of the opinion that the very best players will find a way to adapt and overcome the issue that they've got to deal with. Okay, being on the left is not his strongest suit. Find a way to make it work. By hook, by crook, whatever. He was on the right on this one. And I actually think he was playing quite well, if I'm being completely honest. I think he was starting to look like the player that we hope he will be. Whether it's he was putting himself in the shop window, whether it was a little bit of an audition before he possibly buggers off to Anfield, I don't know. But he picks up the ball, unleashes a left foot strike. Alisson's beaten all ends up, and it strikes the base of the left upright and goes back into play. And again, like I say, you look at it and you go, oh, if Paqueta had done better with his shot, if that had gone in, makes it 1-1, whatever. And like I say, then it goes down the other end within 2 minutes of that opportunity to make it 2-0. But the goal that basically killed it off as a contest, and really optically looks bad on the goalkeeper, Areola. And bear in mind, he'd made a couple of saves up to this point. He'd made a couple of saves, but really disappointing that he lets in the goal that he does. And is it the clever play from Salah? Yes, he's obviously used Max Kilman, I think it was, as a bit of a decoy to get the shot, and possibly he didn't see it too late. But come on, it wasn't like it was a bullet shot. It wasn't like it was right in the bottom corner. It was neither of those things. And he gets a hand to it. He gets a hand to it. But, you know, people have sort of termed him as Weetabix wrists or whatever, chocolate wrists. And it just sort of like his hand just buckles under the pressure of the shot, which was, like I say, it wasn't a bullet shot. It wasn't, he didn't have to go full stretch. It wasn't in the bottom corner. A goalkeeper that's won a World Cup with France. Yes, okay, he didn't play. He was on the bench, but he's been at clubs like Real Madrid. He's been at clubs like PSG. He's got a Europa Conference League medal under his belt. This is, you know, he should be better than this, and unfortunately, he's come in because of obviously the concussion protocols. Fabianski's got to sit out for 10 games from the 10 matches, 10 games, 10 days from the Southampton game as a result of the concussion protocols, which means that obviously we know that Areola had to play against Liverpool. We know that he'll play unless, of course, the manager puts Wes Foderingham in goal. He will play against Manchester City. That's going to be a bloodbath, let's be completely honest with you. But that third goal ended any opportunity of a comeback. Because obviously at 2-0, if we managed, you know, just suppose, if we'd have managed to convert an opportunity at 0-2 to make it 1-2, then all of a sudden it's a little bit back in the melting pot. And you don't know. Maybe football's a funny game. And it was a year earlier that I went to the Emirates Stadium, and we turned up, and I think Arsenal were top at that point. We turned up, and it was probable that we was going to get our asses handed to us on a plate, and we ended up winning 2-0. So I went into this with a little bit of, you never know. But honestly, I mean, and if you look at all of the games that we've been having against the top 6 teams, we've been getting absolutely shooed. The exception being the home game against Manchester United, where we obviously got a 2-1 win. But we went away to Tottenham 4-1. We had home games against Chelsea 0-3, Man City 1-3. We had the home game against Arsenal 2-5. I mean, we're getting absolutely pummeled by these teams. We're not showing any real resistance by and large. We're getting absolutely humbled, absolutely humiliated. We would always have the ability every now and again to put a bloody nose on these bigger teams. And it's just, we're just not doing it. We're not showing anything resembling any sort of resistance. So we get to half time, we're 3-0 down. The game's over at that point. The game's over. And I said it, you know, that possibly Liverpool would start to make substitutions around about an hour if they were 3-4-0 up. Well, that was exactly what happened. They obviously scored a fourth, 54th minute. Trent Alexander-Arnold unleashes a shot. And when it happened in real time, and I'm up in the gods in 2:03, and I was like, what the hell happened there? I was like, did it move in the air? Did it take a deflection? Because I was looking at it and thinking in real time, Areola's just been completely mugged off. Obviously seen it since. There was a deflection off of Kilman's head. But again, I look at that and I'm like, you're meant to be some tough centre-back. You know what I mean? The ball was coming to his head. Head it away. The flick? I mean, that's just, I think that was poor defending myself. He's standing there, he's covering his plums. It's like it was a free kick. It was open play. Take one in the face, you know, block it, whatever you got to do. Instead of doing that, and now it's past the goalkeeper and it's 0-4. Absolutely piss poor defending. And obviously at that point, Liverpool know that, yeah, that is the game done. They're going to make substitutions. We'd made substitutions at half time, however. And I'm struggling to look at them, guys, and really make sense of what was the manager trying to achieve by making them. Because he's set up with Kufau on the right of a back four. He brings him off and brings on a centre back. I'm thinking, okay. He then brings off Edson Alvarez, brings on Nicholas Füllkrug, and it's sort of like, it's like, mate, our midfield was getting absolutely just torn to shreds. and you now taking a midfielder off and putting on a striker whose mobility is to be questioned. Let's be fair. You've brought off a right back who didn't have a great game. Kufau absolutely got rinsed repeatedly down that channel, but brings on a centre back, and just we go to a back five. We've got two in central mid. I don't know what his thinking was. I'm just really baffled by it. Liverpool from probably for the bulk of the second half, let's be honest, certainly from when the fourth goal goes in, treated it like a training game. They're making substitutions left, right, and centre. They're playing at probably about 50% of their capabilities, and they still managed to make us look stupid. We obviously had an injury to Jared Bowen. I don't know what the severity of that injury is. He came off on the hour for Crescencio Somerville. I thought he tried hard. I'll give him his dues. I thought he had a go, but it was all in vain. Andy Irving comes on. He fashioned an opportunity. I mean, he played it, but one of our very few forays into their final third happened, and it was Andy Irving that played the ball in. It was a first-time cross onto the head of Mohamed Kudus. It hits the bar. Alisson was nowhere. He had two good opportunities, Kudus, but he's hit his woodwork both times, and so unlucky. Again, another little alteration that was made in the second half. Mohamed Kudus, as I said, he was on the right. He was having a good game, and he gets moved on to the left again. And I don't really I don't know what to say, guys, because as I say, I'm just trying to work out what the manager was trying to do. And yes, I understand he was without Souček. He was without Fabian. Like I say, I understand what he was up against, but just some of the decisions I just look at and go really, really weird. Probably one sort of positive, if I can drag any out of it. 9 minutes to go, Luis Quillerme comes on, and he actually had a decent opportunity. He takes a shot. I mean, the game was done. I think it was in injury time at the end of the second half. He unleashes a shot, but Van Dijk manages to get a touch on it, deflects it onto the post, and it goes behind for a corner. We lose the game 5-0. Do you know what really frustrated me, though, as well as the performance? Atmosphere in the stadium was as flat as a pancake again. It's really grinding my gears. It really is, because, you know, just no one really sort of made any effort around where I sit in 203. There's a lot of people that are just, you don't see them from one week to the next. They're complete strangers. There was a load of Germans sat where I was watching, and I'm pretty convinced they were Liverpool fans in the main. And that's the reason why the atmosphere is crap by and large, is because a lot of the fans that are in the home end, they're not really invested in supporting West Ham United itself. They're just there to watch a Premier League game. A lot of the times they're actually supporting the opposition, but they've got to keep their head down and sort of like mute it a bit, whatever. But you sort of, I don't know, like I say, maybe I'm a bit of an old fart and whatever, but I'm coming out of the ground and all I can see is this collection of people that have got them poxy 50 half and half scarves, and they're standing there, standing up, big beaming smile, take a photograph of me. And it's like, there's no way you're a West Ham fan, because a proper West Ham fan would be so mortified at being rolled over 5-0 that just you wouldn't really be minded to sort of stand there with a great big bit of wool between your hands, taking a photograph, smiling away. I don't know, guys. Really baffling. And I know there was the thing that was put out by Mark Carlaw on West Ham Way's YouTube channel, and saying that it could be that Lopetegui's under pressure, you know, that he could go after this game. And respectfully, you know, Mark's a very sort of, he's obviously close to X, and, you know, but I just looked and I just went, I don't believe that that's actually going to happen. I'm not saying that it is any sort of porkies being told or anything. Please don't misunderstand me or misconstrue what I'm saying. But I just didn't have, I didn't believe that Sullivan would pull the trigger, you know, because it's like, well, we've come off a 4-game unbeaten run. If we get beat, and it's a result that everybody would expect, if we pulled the trigger on Lopetegui, I think he stays. I think he stays until at least the Villa game. I think that we could get shooed against City. I don't think that would be enough to get rid of this guy. I think that he's probably got the Villa Cup game. It could well be, and I said this leaving the ground to my son, it could well be that by the time the home game against Fulham comes around, which I think is the 14th of Jan, we might have someone new in the dugout by then. It's possible. Even that, I'm sort of maybe not. It could be that he gets the Fulham game, but I think that there is a distinct possibility that if the next two games go horrendously wrong, that it might be that they do pull the trigger. But it all comes. This is all down to Sullivan. You know, this is Sullivan's appointment. He interviewed really well. Buy cheap, buy twice, guys. That's the old saying, and that's where we're at. That is where we're at. We're going to have to get rid of this guy, and we're probably going to have to sell a lot of players, move probably at a loss. I mean, I heard a story, something about they want to let Fulkrug move on, providing we can get our money back on him. I'm like, you guys are in cloud cuckoo land. Do you honestly think there's anybody else in the world, in the footballing world, in the footballing fraternity, that is going to look at Nicholas Fulkrug at 31, 32 years of age, injury prone, barely kicked a ball this season? He's homesick. He wants to go home. He's not happy in England. Do you honestly think that there's a club out there stupid enough to hand over 27 million quid? Do me a favour. Absolutely ridiculous. So anyway, there's a load of comments. I'm going to sort of like quickly rattle through them. So thanks for getting the comments in, and really do appreciate it. Matt, hope you're well. Yeah, not a clue from Lopetegui. I think you look at it and you just go, let's say, starting lineup, substitutions, formations. It was just shambolic, mate. If we suffer a heavy defeat, just what I've been referencing, I don't think they will act after City, mate, because I think they probably look at Liverpool, they look at City and go, their games we'd be hard pressed to win. It will probably be, you reference it there, I think it will be after the Villa game that a decision is made. If it's made at that point, as I say, he may well get the Fulham game to boot. Hills, hope you're well. Hope you are good. Doug's in there. Hope you're good, mate. Thanks for popping along, and enjoy those 3 points, mate. You didn't really have to do too much from the 30th minute on. I haven't heard that he has, mate. I don't think that's going to happen, mate. Managers don't tend to resign from Premier League clubs. Tony, hope you're well. Hope you're all good. Bowling Lounge is in. Hope you are well. Feel sorry for the players if he's still in charge, mate. It's the fans you want to feel sorry for. The players, a lot of them by and large, mate, don't care. They're on like ridiculous contracts. They're on big money. I don't feel sorry for the players. There's some of them that don't deserve to wear the shirt. Let's be completely honest with you. Kufal's a busted flush. Mavropanos ain't good enough. You know, there's players that we've got in the squad, whether they played yesterday or whether they don't. I mean, Areola, was he on 125k a week? And yes, he made a couple of good saves, but like I say, the crucial goal, the one that ended it as a contest, go back and look at it. He should do better than that. As Jones said, his dad's army, we're doomed. Where does the next point come from in the next 8 games? I'm struggling to see it, Michael. I really am. We might shit out a draw here and there. So that's the only hope that I've got. Just scrolling down some of your comments, there's a few sort of like pleasantries going back and forth. I did think this as well, Michael. I think that the challenge on Bowen needed to be looked at. I think didn't Somerville get shoved in the back in the penalty box and nothing happened. I don't know whether it was looked at by VAR, but I'm not aware that anything happened as far as that. But yeah, it was not one yellow in the game. And there's another little sort of strand to that, in that, you know, when you're getting sort of a little bit of a shoeing like we were, well, maybe sort of like, and the atmosphere flat, maybe a little bit of a crunchy chat. I'm not saying go in to injure anyone. I'm not saying that, but a little bit of a crunchy challenge to sort of maybe get the crowd up and whatever. But then again, I mean, to be honest with you, there was a lot of people in the ground that, as I say, I don't believe were West Ham fans in the West Ham end. Again, this is modern football for you, ladies and gentlemen. Is you've got a situation where people are just sort of like getting into the home end, and they really don't give a crap about the home team. They're just there for a jolly up. As I say, everybody around me, as I say, not everybody, it's a slight exaggeration, but there was a lot of people that really couldn't care less. You know, I went in, I had one of the black balloons, blew it up. I'm like I say, I'm right at the back of 203, blew it up, threw it. Someone sort of like grabbed it and just went, and then just put it down. Like they didn't care less, couldn't care less. They saw what it was all about. They just didn't care. As I say, there's a group of Germans around me as well. As I say, I get the very distinct impression they were actually supporting Liverpool. Morel, hope you're well. Looking very bleak. January, February fixtures are not kind. Only Palace looks a game we could get something from. I wouldn't put your mortgage on it though, mate. I really wouldn't put your mortgage on it. Just having a little look. Any more comments? All the emotion has gone, says Damien. That's not good to hear, mate. But you know, football's all about emotions. Last goal, Paqueta tried to elbow Jota in the back instead of just grabbing his shirt. Would have been a red if he connected. I've not really sort of analysed that particular bit of the last goal, and to be honest with you, that would have just summed our luck up if it had connected, because then he'd have been out for 3 games, wouldn't he? We gave Liverpool 3 goals, says Tony. Shite defending. A little bit of luck for Liverpool, but they made their luck, mate. They made their luck by good play, hard work and endeavour. We rolled over and gave it to them, mate. We dropped our strides and bent over and took it. It's the manner we lose against the top teams. We get thrashed. Even Leicester and Southampton put up a fight of effort despite losing. You're absolutely right. As I say, it's not. Does a 5-0 defeat at home shock me? No. But I'd like, how many shots did we have on target? I know the answer to this question. And I don't know if any of you guys have clocked this. We had 0 shots on target. Yes, Kudus hit the woodwork twice, but Alisson didn't have any shots on his target. Go back and check the stats. I'm looking at them here. Very, very clear. Total shots for Liverpool, 22. Total shots for West Ham, 7. Total shots on target for Liverpool, 13. Total shots on target for West Ham, 0. None. The home team, yes, they're better than us. Yes, they're going to win the Premier League. But we didn't have a shot on their goal in 90 minutes. There may well be a bit of that. As I say, he did play. He was probably our one bright spark, maybe Bowen as well. As I say, I thought when he came on, Somerville, and I think Irving showed enough to make me say in place of Paquetá. I mean, I ummed and ahed about when I did the preview about putting Paquetá in, and I did say that maybe an option ahead of him was Irving. Mate, I wish Irving had started actually, because I think in that 15-minute cameo, he certainly showed he was twice as good as Paquetá was in a 15-minute spell. Pico out here giving Kudus grief this season and praising Soler. We have the most backward fans. One is world class, the other is bang average. Soler didn't show the best of himself yesterday. As I say, I think Kudus looked a good player. As I say, how much of it is down to being played in the position on the park that he was on the right. As I say, I do kind of sort of look and go, well, surely you can adapt. But he started the game. He played really well on the right. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But the manager did and moved him across to the left, and he was less of a player. Kudus did look comfortable on the right, but then the second half he starts exactly that tone. Exactly that, mate. For the love of God, just let Loppy go, Sullivan, for all sakes. The fans, the players, Loppy himself, we all need this to end. Yeah, it probably won't, mate. It probably won't. William, hope you're well. Liverpool just showed us how shit we are. A joke. You're not wrong. You're not wrong, mate. We're not even that good, I would suggest. Thanks for that, Tone. Do appreciate it. Michael asked the question, what was the point of having Emerson and Aaron Wan-Bissaka on the left? Neither track Salah. Mate, he had the freedom of London Stadium. He did what he wanted when he wanted. Now everyone knows why Thomas Souček is a guaranteed starter. We are quite shy. You're not wrong. He sees it, but he's so insecure, he can't admit he's wrong, only wanted Loppy, and it's been a disaster. Well, he did a good presentation, apparently. He interviewed Will Obsidian. So the fact that he's clearly out of his depth, and like I say, I know he's had problems of late, but, you know, in his personal life, but at the end of the day, I don't think he's up to the job. I just don't. One other thing I probably should also reference is obviously it was announced shortly before the game that obviously club legend, and I will use that word. There's some people that get the word legend attached to themselves, and I don't believe that it's actually entirely a correct tag to be attributed to certain people. But I do believe that our former goalkeeper Ludek Miklosko, who was one of my heroes growing up, I got to say that. I mean, I played in goal. I was not to any real level, but when I played football, I played in goal, and he was obviously the goalkeeper in the early to mid 90s. 300 odd games for the team, you know, played in 2 promotion winning teams in 91 and 93, played in a League Cup semi-final and an FA Cup semi-final as well, Premier League regular, Czech Republic / Czechoslovakia international. And he's, for the last 3 years, he's been battling cancer, which has spread now. And the prognosis, the treatment was apparently, so I understand, it was going to have certain side effects and it would only slow down the cancer as opposed to actually stopping it outright. And Ludo has made the very difficult decision for the treatment to end, and he's going to obviously try and live life to the full, and absolutely gutted. I actually met him 2 years ago. There was an event that was at the Hilton near sort of London Bridge railway station where the players of the 92-93 promotion team all got together because it was the 30th anniversary. And Ludo was there, and I've got a photograph. I put it on my Facebook page yesterday after I heard the news. Absolutely huge man. I think he's about 6'5", something like that. He absolutely towers over me. Yeah, it's really sad. And I'm sitting here. I am moaning about football. I am moaning about the current plights of the team. You do hear things like that. Do put things into a little bit of perspective. It has to be said, as I say, one of my heroes growing up. And yeah, I just wish him all the best. Wish his family all the best. And yeah, whatever time he's got left, I hope he can live life to the fullest extent that is at all possible for him. So yeah. Right, I probably should move on. How we beat Manchester United and Newcastle is beyond me. When we play like we did, Jekyll and Hyde, I think it's more. Well, which one was Jekyll? Which one was Hyde? You know, it's pretty poor, I have to say. Even a stopped clock is right twice a day, though. Yeah. Even Lopetegui gave up standing there, hands in his pocket, like he couldn't be asked. Well, he's getting paid either way, and he probably knew he was safe, Tony. Newcastle away was the only game we played well and got the result. Other than that, we've looked poor. Yeah, the results we've got, we've kind of shithoused, let's be honest. I mean, Southampton even looked like world beaters against us, and everybody else, they looked like carpet beaters. Liverpool players were laughing at us. It was that easy for them. They switched off after an hour, mate. Once the fourth goal went in for definite, they just sort of like just sat back and just sort of like treated it as a training game. So how can the players follow a leader who doesn't know where he's going or how to get there? You make a very good point. Damien, thanks for popping along. Hope you have a good day. We were lucky Liverpool treated it as a training session, or it could have easily gone into double figures. That's completely correct, Peter. You know, that was what saved us. If Liverpool wanted to score 10 goals, I think they quite conceivably could have done. As it was, they scored 5. They did miss a couple of chances. I thought, despite the fact that Salah did get on the goal on the score sheet, I actually thought he was a little bit he wasn't quite at his usual sharpest best. And as I say, I can't even believe I'm saying that, but I think if he'd have been at it, he'd have scored more than the goal that he did. X gets his info from Sully. Now Sully looks weak, keeps issuing threats through his minions, but don't act on them. I take it you're talking about what I said earlier about the West Ham way. As I say, not to cast any doubt onto anyone. As I say, this is just my opinion that when I heard that statement that X had said that there was a possibility that that Lopetegui could potentially go, if it goes badly wrong against Liverpool, he could potentially go after that. I don't have any faith that that's going to happen. I really don't, because the person that's got to make that decision is David Sullivan, and I just don't think that he's got the decisiveness to make that call. I think he has got this game that we've just had. I think he's got the Man City game. I think he's got the Villa game, and it will probably be after the Villa game, maybe after the Fulham game, that a decision is made on him. By which time our season could be all over, because we're out of the League Cup. If it goes wrong against Villa, which obviously if they're going to make a decision, that probably will be, then our season will be over, and it will just be a question of just treading water from that point on. Exactly that, Peter. There is absolutely no way. As I say, when I read that statement on an article a day or two ago, where it said that we would be willing to let Fulkrug go if we got our money back on him, I was just like, no, no one else other than us were going to pay 27 million quid for Nicholas Fulkrug. And so the notion that there's someone out there that is going to pay that money for him, it's just pie in the sky, mate. Absolutely pie in the sky. Thanks for that again, Tony. Do appreciate it, mate. 27 million on a 32-year-old. Anything goes when you're spending other people's money. You're probably right, but as I say, I don't think there's anyone else in world football that's as foolish as we seem to be in parting with our money on players that are just not up to the mark. The let them know your type. Yes, that would, Tone, if that was Upton Park, that sort of challenge going in from a Billy Bonds or an Alvin Martin or a Mark Ward, fires up the crowd, gets the atmosphere going, and sort of like maybe fires up the players. That game was running away from us yesterday, not a single yellow card, and that pretty much says it all. I haven't heard anything, Peter. I don't know. I don't know whether it's possibly a case of, because obviously when he got brought off, it was 0-4, and it may well be that they just thought there's no point in us taking a risk with our best player, keeping him on the pitch in a game that's clearly gone. I don't know whether it was just to protect him or whether there's something more that we need to worry about. So, yes, if you do go in the home end, you should keep your mouth shut and not take the mick. And that was why it kicked off against in the Arsenal game, because there were people obviously that made it. And look, we know it happens every game. I am not stupid. I can suss out who's a West Ham fan and who's not a West Ham fan pretty bloody quickly. The 50-50 scarf is usually a giveaway, because I just look and go, if you're actually a West Ham fan, why would you have a scarf on that 50% of it is dedicated to the team that you want to beat on this given afternoon? There's just no way. The only situation where I would say a 50-50 scarf is in any way, shape or form acceptable, and I said this to my son yesterday, if you've got a small child that is going to their first game of football and they wanted that as some sort of memento, in that one situation, I would say absolutely acceptable. Grown adults going and buying 50-50 scarves, you're tourists. You're not a fan of either club, probably. You're definitely not a fan of the home club, that's for sure. Grown adults going around with them, no way. Colin, hope you're well, mate. We have become a shit show of a club and have become a circus. Sullivan's the ringmaster. Can't see too many points in the next 8 games. You're the second one that said that, Colin, and I think you've probably got a really great point there. And I am not looking forward to these next 8 games, it has to be said. I'm looking at it with a great deal of dread, fear, trepidation, call it what you want. But I'm not really sort of like I don't think I'm going to enjoy it too much. I think a lot of these things that I'm going to do between now and these 8 games being concluded will probably be me hoping for the best and expecting the worst on the previews, and trying to sort of like make a case for us possibly getting something, and probably failing miserably. And then on the reviews, I'll probably be moaning like this. So Yeah, 0 shots on target. As I say, that was a real shocker, mate. As I say, at least get the goalkeeper working. They reckon Pac-Man could be banned for that elbow incident, which would be a. You're probably right, but I see this is the things. Is that João Pedro for Brighton? He threw an elbow the other day, and he didn't get any action because it didn't connect. So I'd be really interested if they're gonna do Paqueta for that. I'd be really interested to know what their logic is. So doesn't seem to matter who plays in midfield. They're all poor. Yeah, we just don't seem to be able to find the right blend. This is where we need a mobile box-to-box central midfielder. We've got a bunch of midfielders who have a skill set that is very, very similar to one another. Rodriguez, Alvarez, Souček. They're pretty much the same player. You know, Somerville's been, yeah, he always seems to be a bit of a sacrificial lamb. I got to say, I'd like to see more of him. I do understand when people say there's a touch of the Saeed Ben Rahmas about him, but I think he's young, he's direct, he's pacey, and I think that he's the only way he's going to get used to playing Premier League pace football is to play Premier League minutes. That's pretty much it. So. Sullivan will be haunting West Ham from his grave when he dies. Well, very possibly. It may well be that he moves it onto his boys. That would be brilliant. HVNI Hammer 84. Ludo is a legend. You are absolutely correct. So, lost several family members and friends due to the bastard that is cancer. Wishing Ludo all the best. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, as I say, that can't be an easy decision that he's made to obviously stop the treatment, because obviously he's been told that the side effects are going to be quite profound. It's going to stunt the quality of the life that he's got left, and he wants to enjoy it in the fullest sense. So yeah, as I say, it does put football into perspective. We're all sitting here and moaning about something that really, in the grand scheme of things, you know, is I wouldn't say it doesn't matter, but compared to life, death, illnesses, diseases, whatever, such as this, it does put it in a perspective. Stephen, is he? Oh wow, that's interesting. I dare say if he gets someone that's sort of sitting opposite him and he's sort of like at a job interview and they see that, they probably either think he's got some Czech sort of heritage or something, or they'll sit there and go, "Are you a West Ham fan, or was your dad a West Ham fan?" Because obviously that's not a very common name, not in England anyway. So, but a great tribute to the man. Ludek, one of the big heroes of mine. Deeply saddened to hear about his prognosis. Lovely gentleman. As I say, I was lucky enough to share some time with him on an event just about 2 years ago. Huge man. Played a great part in me supporting West Ham growing up. One of my heroes. I believe he's a legend of the club. I really do. Yeah, so basically, if you don't know, so he was diagnosed with, I think there was a lump that he found on his hip about 3 years ago, and obviously he's had treatments, he's had this, he's had that. It's spread. I believe it's gone to his stomach now, from what I understand. And the treatment that he can receive now would only prolong his life. It would only slow the cancer down. It wouldn't actually stop it in its tracks. And my understanding is that for the side effects that he would have to go through, he's taken the very difficult decision, but it's his decision and nobody else's, to stop the treatment, to be able to live whatever time he's got left in the best shape possible, as opposed to, you know, having chemotherapy, radiotherapy. It obviously does have an impact. And I dare say most of us that are watching this have probably had someone that's had to go through it, or maybe gone through it ourselves, and probably can relate to it. Football is nothing compared to people in health. Correct, Peter. Absolutely correct. So we have too many players now that just here as a payday. Even if they crap, they get paid. Yeah, that's pretty much the crux of it, isn't it? We got a lot of players that don't really care. about sort of how they play, because they're still going to get their 100 grand a week, aren't they? 23 points. Yeah, you look at the games, mate, and you sort of go, other than the Ipswich game, possibly the Newcastle game, I don't really think there's been a 90-minute performance where you'd say that was a deserved 3 points. I hope you're right about the decision not being in the distant future. Should have been made after the Leicester game. Yeah, that was a poor one, mate. Absolutely poor. 3 worse teams than us, so I can't see us being bottom 3 unless we lose about 6 in a row. That's the only thing that's really going to save us this season, is the fact that Southampton are dog shit. So that's one space taken up, and I think there's another 2 teams at least that are going to be over a 38 game Premier League season that will be worse than us. You may say that, William. I could not possibly comment, but you work out the rest. 10 Premier League wins in 2024. That's pretty poor, isn't it? That is pretty poor. A 50-50 scarf, mate, is basically a scarf where half of it is in the colours of the home team, half of it is in the colours of the away team. It will say West. To give you an example, the ones that I saw yesterday, one half of the scarf is claret and blue, one half of the scarf is red and white, one half, the claret and blue half, says West Ham. The red and white scarf says Liverpool, and it will have probably yesterday's date on it, Premier League, blah, blah, blah. And they're usually bought by tourists. As I say, I saw loads of people, and as I say, I just can't get my head around this. If you're an actual proper fan, you're not going to be in a good mood after a 5-0 home defeat. And yet there were people standing there with great big gurning grins, holding up this 50-50 scarf, taking a photograph of the pitch behind them, the stadium, whatever. They're tourists, and that is why the atmosphere is so crap in the London Stadium. I understand what you're saying there. As I say, I do understand when people say about he's got a touch of the Ben Ramas about him. I understand what you're saying, but the only way he's going to get used to the Premier League is to play him. He'll get used to it. And don't forget that there's a guy called Lionel Messi that is quite lightweight, but he finds a way. So if he's got the sort of quality, bear in mind, I'm not comparing Crysencio Somerville to Messi. I'm just saying that being lightweight in and of itself doesn't preclude someone from playing at the top level. That's all I'm saying. Please don't sort of misunderstand me or misconstrue what I'm saying. I'm not saying Crysencio Somerville's the next Lionel Messi. Far from it. I'm just saying in terms of stature, that doesn't stop someone. If you've got the ability, you find a way. Rahan, welcome along. Welcome along. Good to see you. It would be nice if we could have had you on the end of a 5-0 win as opposed to mate, I'd have taken a 1-1 draw, let's be honest with you. He'll only leave when he sells up, or if he passes. That's what I think is more likely, Matt. That is what I think is more likely. Lee says, how many of them players look like they want to be at the club? Not many, mate. Bowen. After that, not too many. I really don't think there's too many of them that actually would give a shit. So, Kudus, yes, he played well, but I do wonder whether he was putting himself in the shop window a little bit. Should Graham Potter replace? Ooh. Would he do a better job than Julian Lopetegui? I understand when people say that Potter looked good at Brighton because he was part of a team, of a construct that he was, he was helped to look good by the support network around him. And it's interesting that managers that have succeeded him have all done well in De Zerbi and obviously now Fabian Hürzeler. Obviously, he went into a bit of a basket case at Chelsea. I think he could be a decent manager, but I do wonder him walking into the setup that we've got, the players that we've got with the skill sets they've got, the confidence being quite low. How would he galvanize the troops? How would he get a tune out of them? What would really concern me is if we pull the trigger on him when the transfer window in January is shut, and then basically he's got to work with what he's got. I don't know how that might pan out. Remember the crowd singing Ludo, what's the score every game? He spoke no English when he joined us. He just waved at us. And then one day he turned around and held up 1-0. Yeah, I understand his English was not the best. And I'm not even too sure it's tip top now, to be honest with you, Michael. But I think he gets by. Even if they dislike the manager, how about playing for the fans? Where's the professional pride? Exactly. They're getting paid enough money, aren't you? So get on with it. Yeah, I mean, that I would get. That I would understand. A 50-50 scarf from a cup final, something like that, a memorable game. I would say that's the only situation where me personally, I believe it's acceptable if you're a proper fan. If you're a tourist, then it makes sense. But that's kind of the red flag to me, is if I see someone with a 50-50 scarf, they're either a tourist. Well, they're invariably a tourist, and they possibly, if it's top 6 team that we're playing, they're more likely to be a fan of the other team. Potter would do a better job than Lopetegui, says Damien. I thought you disappeared. I thought you'd gone. Cup final isn't acceptable. Exactly that. Yeah, I think that if it's a high profile game, look, if you have a 50-50 scarf of the Conference League final against Fiorentina, I'd say fine. I'm talking for home Premier League games. Home Premier League games, for you to turn up at that stadium with a West Ham Liverpool 50-50 scarf, you're either a tourist or you're probably a fan of the other team as well. So Brian Potter would be better than Floppy. It may be interesting with Bilic. What, as a new manager coming in? I don't know. Would he come back in and become manager after having a previous experience with Sullivan? I don't know. Anyway, right, I've got on for a bit longer than I wanted to. It's been a bit cathartic, but I still feel quite pissed off about the outcome yesterday. As I say, I didn't see enough on the pitch. It was a bit of a shit show, but I don't think he's going anytime in the next game or two. I think, like I say, earliest that the trigger will be pulled will be after the Villa game, and that's assuming we don't go through, or they don't do replays anymore. I'm trying to think. Anyway, let's reconvene. Let's gather our thoughts. Let's reconvene in the coming days for the Manchester City preview. Yeah, don't come back, Slav. You know, it's an absolute fucking shit show. Why bother? But yeah, I think that he will be here after the City game, Damien. I got to tell you, I think he will still be here. I think he will be here for the Villa game. May well be here for the Fulham game. I would not be shocked to see him still in the dugout when we go back to London Stadium for the Fulham game. Maybe they might pull the trigger after the Villa game, but it wouldn't shock me if he was still here for the Fulham game if it all goes badly wrong. Anyway, I'm going to disappear. Please don't forget to give your support to the Iron Supporting Food Banks charity. Thanks for coming along. Don't forget to hit subscribe if you are new around here. Don't forget either way to hit a thumbs up on the video. All these things help the channel out. They take a couple of seconds of your time. They don't cost you a copper coin. Come on, you Irons. We'll see you next time.
Iron Supporting Food Banks collects food and cash donations for needy families in Newham Borough and beyond. Please consider making a donation via their Just Giving page, the link for which you will find in the description section of this stream. Come on, you Irons.